we're talking about large-scale event planning, starting a 501c3, pivoting your business model, and frozen beer. Do I have your attention yet? You're watching Startup Garage Live. We're broadcasting live from the Google Fiber Center in the Gulch. I'm Caroline. Vincent has the night off. I'm going to get straight into my first guest. Topher Fleming is here. He is the founder and Viceroy of the Vibe. I don't want to get your title wrong.
Of Super Cool Fun Fest?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a 4-year-old nonprofit. You just had your 4th annual event.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, I'm still sore today.
No!
It's only been 48 hours, so I'm still in the recovery stage.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably walk in the course of an event.
Yeah. How many steps did you get?
I left my Fitbit at home, but probably we'll go with 30,000. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. So you donate thousands of dollars to local charities every year. And it's the Greenways this year, right?
Yeah, Greenways for Nashville. It's been a great charity partner for us, and excited to work with them again. This is 3 years in a row.
So what made you decide to create an event? And tell me about the evolution of that idea.
Well, as you know, Caroline, I like to party.
Yes.
Well, no, we were, as a group of friends, and we were routinely getting together, having fun parties, and I was also involved when I first moved to Nashville with the Nashville Junior Chamber, so I had some experience building budgets for events through that. Helped chair one of their largest events for 5 years. Co-chaired, was on the board of that committee for 5 years. So knew a budget. So then I said, if we could get 100 people to a birthday party, why don't we try to get...
That was the standard.
You had 2 weeks to get people to a birthday party. If I had 6 months, could I get 500 people to a park and sell them 2 beers?
Right.
And so then I had a baseline budget, and I said, okay, let's find an idea that works and let's make it happen.
So then why a nonprofit? Because there's specific laws in Tennessee that kind of made you go in that direction.
Well, I think probably I never thought that it would be big enough that it could actually make money. So I was like, well, it's obviously a nonprofit because we're not going to make any money.
Yes.
But also, though, because of the fact that it's going to be outdoors and in the city park, if you're for profit, you have to then go out and partner with the charity anyhow. So we decided we weren't planning on paying ourselves, and we go out and start form a 501c3 instead, and then we can actually pick the causes that we give the money to. So that's why we're 501c3.
And it's also like alcohol container laws, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Alcohol issues are to get permission to sell alcohol. It's complicated. It kind of goes back to some of the prohibition stuff, but beer is at the local level, and then there's liquor that's at the state level, and then so the venue itself, if you want to sell alcohol in a public space, you have to go through the Parks Board to get approval, and they sort of require you through those processes to have a charity partner. So if you notice, a lot of the beer festivals that you do go to, oftentimes they have a charity that they benefit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how they go through that process.
That makes sense. So you gave a little of your background about the Junior Chamber and Ragin' Cajun, and that's how you picked Cumberland Park, right?
Yeah, actually. So Ragin' Cajun had been around well before me. But we moved it into Cumberland Park. It was the first event ever in Cumberland Park. Ooh. If you haven't been there, if your listeners haven't been there, it's a beautiful park. It's a natural amphitheater, and it also has some covered area under the Korean Veterans Bridge. So it lends itself really well to having an outdoor event, because if it rains, the amphitheater is somewhat covered, and the under the bridge area is also covered. We were the first event ever there when we were Ragin' Cajun, and actually the photographer that we had for that sold rights to the pictures to the architecture firm, because they didn't have any good pictures.
Oh my gosh.
So the London architecture firm
that built the park.
Yeah, they paid him $3,000 for the pictures.
That's so good. $3,000.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so tell me about some of the biggest lessons that you've had to learn as a event planner.
Yeah, right. Well, I think, in my case, I didn't come to this as a professional event planner.
Yeah.
My quote-unquote career job is I'm in sales for a healthcare company. So I practice that all day. But I don't necessarily work on my other skill sets, the marketing, the accounting, the filing your taxes, thinking through things from a legal standpoint. So always learning in all those ways, and then had a lot of little lessons along the way. You mentioned the frozen beer.
Yes. Tell us about that, because I remember seeing you the day this was going on, and you were like problem solving big time.
Yeah, so what we do is we sell beers through beer trailers that have kegs in them, and so there's lines that go from the kegs to the taps. And fortunately, every now and again, they clean them.
Yeah.
However, they had just cleaned them, and they hadn't prepared to flush them correctly, and so the lines froze. So we couldn't get our beer out.
It wasn't coming out.
And they didn't. They'd been there all morning, but they were troubleshooting it on their end, and figured they didn't want to. It was an hour before the event. They said, "Hey, didn't want to alarm you at 7 a.m. Everyone's coming in an hour, so we can't pour beer right now." They'd already lined up a bunch of cans from their warehouse to fix the problem. But yeah, that was.
So that's what you did, just the cans.
We went through probably 100 bags of ice and bought out ice from all the gas stations within a couple miles of the park. Just buying ice, filling them tubs, and selling beer that way.
Did the lines ever melt?
Not that day, but the problem hasn't come back since.
Okay,
then,
good. It hasn't happened again.
It hasn't happened again.
And then you did some electrical engineering, I understand, on Saturday?
Yes, learning
about how extension cords work.
Ampage and wattage and yeah.
This is like the startup-y event planning stuff that you're like, I never thought I would need to know how extension cords work.
Yeah, so because we had a refrigerated margarita machine, I didn't know that anything refrigerating draws a lot of power, needs a lot of amps. And so apparently if you plug it right into the wall, it's good, but if you use an extension cord, there's not enough juice. So that was a learning experience, and we had to spend a couple $100 on generators last minute.
Oh my God. Awesome. I didn't know that. You bought generators.
Yeah.
So now you just have generators. Okay, and then tell me about the 501c taxes in the 2 buckets, because I found that to be really interesting.
Okay, yeah. So when you form a 501c3, there are different sizes that you're estimating you're going to be. So you may recall that sometimes in the Obama administration that there was a hullabaloo over the IRS giving a hard time to nonprofits that were affiliated with the Tea Party. And so what happened is they made a change that said anybody who projects that they're going to have $0 to $50,000 in revenue, here's a really simple form, 990 EZ version. So if you project that, that's what you fill out. And that's what we did our first year. 3 months later, so you check a box. We have no expectation the first 3 years we have over $50,000 in revenue for the first 3 years.
Yeah.
Then 3 months later, we had $67,000 in revenue. We're like, whoops.
Oh no.
So our accountant was like, hey, there's a pretty good chance that you'll be audited.
Yeah.
So that has been a real learning experience. There's all types of things that when you're filing a nonprofit tax that you have to do differently than if you're filing your personal or a traditional business tax. For example, we have to have a mission statement. And I fought Brandon on it. Brandon wanted to we throw epic parties.
Okay.
I was like, well, we do distinctive events that benefit local charities. How's that?
Oh, they're both good.
Oh, they're so good. Yeah, it's hard. Well.
So tell me about a moment when you felt like, oh, I'm making an actually cool thing happen.
Well, one moment was when we went live the first year, and we sold 12 tickets the first day for an event that was 3 months out.
Yeah.
I said, hey, people are going to come to this thing. These are people that don't even know what it is, and we've got the marketing message down right. Apparently our channels work. We're not going to have a 0 year.
Yeah, good.
Somebody's going to come.
12 people will come.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then tell me about the process of getting sponsors and how that's made your event successful. Because you had more sponsors than ever this year. How hard are those to get? How much of a difference does it make for you guys?
Gosh, that's a good question. I would tell you that we are not the best at getting sponsors. We do have a few that are really solid and have been with us every year, and we always add a couple more, and other people reach out to us wanting to sponsor. I think what it does, it gives you some guaranteed revenue. So in the event of catastrophic flood, you're going to have some revenue.
Or a rain out.
Well, yeah, so I laugh about the flood, but
it rains
the 2017,
so hard.
we're there at 7 in the morning, and the flood alarm alert was going off on my phone. So that was
scary. And then this is the 4th year, but your biggest attendance numbers were actually from year 1.
Yeah, so when we did the prep, that was yesterday, I told you that. And actually, the second year was our biggest attendance, and every year has actually been fairly between 1650 and 1850, so I don't think there's any big changes there.
Yeah.
I think our one thing that we did poorly the first year was we were just throwing ideas against the wall and said we were going to have a Legends of the Hidden Temple zone.
A Legends of the Hidden Temple zone.
Which sounds like a blast. Like, who
sounds
doesn't want to drink
awesome.
Beer and be a blue iguana or whatever the team name.
Yeah, Purple Parrot.
Yeah.
And I feel like the nostalgic 80s and 90s kids are very interested in that.
Yeah.
But
insurance companies are not excited about that.
It didn't happen.
So it wasn't really an obstacle zone, which is the way people heard it when they read it.
Yeah.
It was an activity zone where you could do things. Mm-hmm. So we've refined our language and marketing on that. That was a pretty big...
But no one actually came up to you and asked, we're so Legends of the Hidden Temple, right?
Yes, lots of people did.
Oh, people did? No.
Yeah, I think on our Facebook review, it was like, it would have been cool if they had that Legend of the Hidden Temple thing they mentioned.
Oh, no. Well, maybe for the 5th year, the insurance company will grant you your wish. I doubt it. What do you think makes Super Cool Fun Fest successful? Why do 15,000 or 1,500, 1,600 people come to this event?
Right, that's a good question. I think that helps get to what I think you're trying to do with the podcast, which is when you're in the trenches doing a startup, what is the thing? Right,
and is it because the theme is so good? Is it because you guys are really good at promoting yourselves? Like, what's the secret?
And so there's a couple things that we did really well on the front end, and that's that we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
Even when we didn't know what we were doing, we were going about finding and gathering information about how to do it. So one thing that we did is when we reached out to Eventbrite, who I had previously used through the junior chamber.
Yeah.
So I knew their platform. They gave us a business development rep out of their San Francisco office who could coach us through some of the logistics of running an event for about what we were looking for. Things from running the box office, ticketing, ID checking, things like that, event flow, advice on things like toilets, etc.
Yeah.
So that stuff was nice, but they also have a bunch of white papers on how to market your event or how to find kind of your niche. And prepping for this, I went back and found some of the white papers that I'd found and originally read, and like really what Eventbrite tries to pitch is the experience economy.
Oh, we talked about this yesterday.
Yeah, and so I mean, especially now with social media, millennials, everybody has access to everything. Like anybody can listen to any song anywhere. You can go and watch any TV show,
any movie.
What people don't have is on demand is experiences, and so. Whether that means coming to Nashville and going to the Wings and getting that picture with the mural that everybody wants to have to show and share on social media, say, look what I did. Or it's the fear of missing out of like, hey, my friends did that and I didn't get to do it.
Yeah.
So we have a very distinctive brand. I don't know of any other festivals that are like it. It's more than just a 90s festival. So it's a place to go, dress weird, look like you are savvy and fun and easy to get along with. Look at this. And have fun and drink beer
and post it on social media.
Yeah, so that's what we did well.
It's the experience piece. Yeah.
So from the time when we actually decided we were definitely doing an event and we reserved the park, and when we went live with marketing, we did a lot of that kicking around ideas and finding who we were.
Yeah.
That's what we did well.
So tell me, what is the best thing about being the founder of Super Cool Fun Fest?
I think it might be that I have an email address. It's Topher@supercoolfunfest.com. Or that I have like a debit card on.
You never gave me that email address. You can email him Topher@supercoolfunfest.com.
Yeah, and you can
on your business card or debit card.
Yeah, the debit card and the credit card. So that's kind of a cool thing.
But I think also it's the connections you're making.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The value is in the value of the network, and it makes town so small. You can call somebody up anywhere and they'll return your call because they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I've heard of you. You get contacts through the different parts of Metro government, through alcohol companies, through who doesn't love that, through the music industry because you're hiring bands and booking stuff. So it makes town really small, and it's something to tell your friends about all year and get them excited about. I have folks that come from all over the country to come to it.
I love that answer. It makes the town small. Okay, so advice for anyone willing to, this is the last question, advice for anyone who is wanting to start an event.
I'd say just do it. For us,
I wrote that down. Topher's advice: just do it.
Yeah. For me, the way I work, I definitely work through a budget. I recently was reading in the Business Journal. They did interviewing one of their 40 under 40 winners, and she said, "What piece of advice would you not give to somebody?" She said, "Don't start with a budget. Just trust your instincts."
Yeah.
That's fair. But
yeah,
we had the instincts we could do this, but the budget gave me confidence that I could make it work. When we were rolling through it and rolling it out the first year, we had 3 separate budgets. We had a low goal, a likely goal, and a best case scenario. And we doubled our best case scenario. But we tracked it as we were going along. We were spending money and what we were doing, because we wanted to make money and we wanted to give money to charity. And we needed a budget.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much for coming on. Tell everyone where they can find you. What are your social accounts? At Super Cool Fun Fest.
Yeah, at Super Cool Fun Fest on Instagram, Super Cool Fest on Twitter. They have a little shorter names. Yeah, you can find us there.
Awesome.
Or you can find us in the park, middle of July, 2019.
Yes. Do you have a date yet?
I don't, just because we just had the event 2 days ago. I'm going to reserve it this week. So I'll know. Maybe put in the show notes later on.
Yes, I will. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. You're the best. All right, so moving on to our next guest. The founder of Made South will be joining me in just a second, but first I gotta say follow, subscribe, share, comment. We're gonna be posting this on YouTube later today. We're on Twitter, SGL_podcast, and of course you're watching us on Facebook, Startup Garage Live. So if you like what you're watching, please share and subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any questions or ideas for us. And now for my next guest, the founder and CEO of Made South. You may have heard of their incredibly popular annual holiday market at the Franklin. They also have a business conference called Gumption. They have a podcast, and they have coming up next month the annual Southern Whiskey Society dinner, which sounds amazing. Chris Thomas, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Caroline. How are you, by the way?
I'm good.
Is your day going well?
It is.
Good.
I'm glad to be here
Good.
talking to 2 super interesting people.
How great is that guy?
I know.
I cannot wait to go to that event next year.
Oh, you gotta come.
Because I grew up in that era, so like Saved by the Bell, Urkel, I was looking at their Instagram feed. It's fantastic. I can't wait to go to that event.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah,
yes. It is awesome. And you just had the Slider Fest.
We did, yeah.
Tell me about that.
It was awesome. You know, I mean, we created an event that celebrated sliders and Southern chefs, and I mean, it was kind of crazy.
What's better than that?
I know, kind of crazy to come up with that, but it worked really well. We sold it out. The judges seemed to have a good time. The chefs seemed to have a good time. The guests seemed to have a good time. I think we'll do it again.
That's
It was
awesome.
a lot of fun. Yeah.
Good. So we spoke last week, and you told me that you'd known for a long time that you wanted to go into business for yourself,
Yeah.
but it took you many, many years to figure out exactly what that business would be. So tell me how you arrived at the idea of Made South.
Well, so I had worked for a guy named Dave Ramsey, who some of your listeners may know, is a very successful local businessman. I worked for Dave for about 12 and a half years, and one of the greatest experiences of my life. I love Dave to death, and just a wonderful opportunity that man gave me. But I knew when he hired me in 2001, I knew that eventually I was going to try to go create something on my own.
Yeah.
And so after 12 years, I had done that job for so long, and it wasn't challenging anymore, and I was sitting in a cubicle every day, and I was kind of dying inside a little bit. As much as I love Dave and that place and that mission.
We had that entrepreneur itch.
Yeah, I knew I needed
And people
to
who
go.
have that can't ignore it.
It was something that was not going to go away, and either I was going to have to go try it, or just resign myself to just being dead inside. And I can't be that person who just lives dead inside. I can't.
No.
So my wife and I, after talking about it for probably a year, we circled a date on a calendar. It was her birthday, February 14th, 2014. Not that maybe I shouldn't have shared her birthday, but it doesn't matter. and so we circled that date, and we knew we had about 6 months to plan, save, figure out what we were going to do for the next chapter of our lives. And so that's kind of how we made the decision to do it.
And you picked the idea of Made South because of some advice that someone gave you.
Yeah.
Which I love this. Find the intersection of what you're good at and what you're excited about.
Yeah,
Tell me about that process.
Well, it was a good friend of mine named Jeff Helton, who kind of a counselor, advisor of mine, and so I had seen him for a couple of months. I was going to see him once a week, just trying to work through the idea of leaving Dave, because I'm an extremely loyal person.
Yeah.
And again, I love the guy to death.
He's like a Nashville icon.
And I truly believe I had the greatest job in that building. I had so much fun. He was paying me really well, and so it was this. I had to get comfortable with the idea of leaving him.
Yeah.
And not, I would never have left Dave's just for another job at another business.
Right.
I knew it was going to have to be doing something on our own, and so I was seeing Jeff he was helping me work through that, and he said, I feel like you can find a sweet spot, an intersection that combines, a business that combines what you're excited about and what you're really good at. And so then I had to go through this process of figuring out, well, what the heck am I good at? I mean, I was in sales at Dave's, so I felt like I was good at that, but what were those kind of internal skills that I was good at? So I started asking my friends.
Yeah, I love this.
People who I trust.
If you don't know what you're good at, maybe you just ask your friends.
And if you're like me, I know this is my experience. I can sometimes think I'm good at something when I'm not really good at it.
Right.
And so
we have blind spots. We all do.
Absolutely. And so I started asking friends, what do you feel like I'm good at? People who I trust, I would ask them, what do you think I'm good at? What do you see my eyes light up about when I talk about it? What am I excited about? And so I started getting feedback from them, candid, honest answers from them, and that kind of helped me craft the idea for Made South.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you started out as a subscription box company, which you had never done before. No. And I love how you researched this industry.
Oh, here's the deal. I knew that I loved the idea of recommending great things to people.
Yes.
And I knew I loved Southern culture.
Right.
And I knew I loved small business. And so subscription boxes were just kind of coming up. Birchbox was beginning to be a real thing. There was one called Mantree. There was one called Barkbox
for the dogs.
Yeah. And so there were a bunch of these starting to pop up, and I thought, well, that seems like a fun business.
Yeah. And
it was a vehicle to be recommending some of these makers that I knew and loved.
Right. It's at the intersection of your your skills, your passions.
Yeah. So I spent probably too much money, and I signed up for like 15 or 20 of these things. And it didn't matter if I was even interested in it or not. If it was a subscription box, and if their website looked pretty decent, I would sign up for it. And I would at least get that first shipment in the mail.
Right.
And the box would show up, and I was so excited. It would be in my mailbox.
Yeah.
And I would get it out, and I have a notebook. I still have it at the house.
Yeah.
Where I would get that notebook out, and I would make notes about the entire shipment. So what I liked and didn't like about the packaging, when I opened it up, what that experience was like, what did it make me feel inside, their print pieces, the types of items that went in there. And so I just made pages and pages of notes about what I liked and didn't like about each one. And then that ultimately helped us come up with the different ideas for how we would package this thing together and send them out to people all across the country.
And you did that for 3 years.
We did that for 3 years, from 2014 to the end of 2016. We did 4 shipments a year, March, June, September, and December. It was a quarterly shipment. Yeah.
And one thing you shared with me about this process that I think is great advice for aspiring startup people is about, you said, start with the right foundation or problems will multiply.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, we again, subscription boxes were sort of new back then.
Yeah.
And if you weren't a heavily VC-funded company like Birchbox, they have their stuff dialed in. They have multiple DCs around the country, distribution centers.
Yeah.
They have kind of an ongoing scheduling / shipping system where they're shipping out thousands of packages every single day.
Right.
We had this thing where we only wanted to ship once every 3 months.
Right.
We wanted to get all of those shipments out in a day or two and then be done with it and kind of develop our next shipment for the next 90 days.
Yeah.
And so we started out with a platform called WooCommerce, and there was just kind of a wonky subscription plugin and a wonky shipment plugin that all kind of sort of fit together, but not really.
Yeah.
And so we found out pretty quickly that when someone would move and come to update their shipping information in their account, it wouldn't translate over to their next order. So they would come update their shipping information, but then when their next shipment order generated, it would generate using their old address. That's right. And so we didn't figure that out until the first time we sent it out, or the second shipment actually.
Yeah.
Second shipment we sent out. And then we could not figure out how to fix that. And it just became this numbing headache every 90 days to try to figure out which ones were right, which ones were wrong. There was a lot of manual override going on. And so I have this kind of dream in the back of my head that at some point I'd love to relaunch that.
Yeah.
But with a better foundation where those tools fit together better, those solutions are better solved, and then when those changes do get made, like a customer coming in, that's not something that we manually have to go process. We can kind of trust that, because we shipped out, I think we shipped 214 shipments our very first one. 218 maybe. And so we had all of those dialed in, but then that next one went up to 350 or 400, and we had 5 or 6 that didn't come back. They went to the wrong address and they didn't come back. And we're a small business, so that means we have to go buy
more
5.
product.
Yeah, we're buying, if we have 218 subscribers at the time, we're buying 218 of every single item. We're not buying 219 or 217. It's exactly the number we needed. And so if those got shipped to the wrong person and didn't come back, we had to go buy more product, build more individual shipments. And when that thing got up to 700-800 subscribers, those problems multiplied, where we're trying to figure out 20 or 25, 30 different subscribers who aren't getting their product. So they're upset with us.
They're calling you.
Yeah, they're upset with us, and I feel horrible because I want them to have the product. But I'm having to go out and buy new product to replace that, and it just got to be a hairy mess. It was crazy. Yeah.
So after teaching yourself boxes and doing that for 3 years, you decided to teach yourself a whole new thing.
Well, so the events came about in 2015, our second year. Somebody was saying to us, a lot of people were saying, you're doing these boxes and you're telling the stories of these great makers that you love. But it'd be neat to get them all together in one place and let us connect with them and talk with them personally and buy stuff from them. And so we did our first event actually in September of 2015, a little more than a year and a half we'd been in business. So we kept the boxes and the events kind of overlapping for a year and a half, and then we decided at the end of 2016 we're just going to phase the boxes out. Yeah.
So you had never thrown an event before, and you decided to invite thousands of people to a farm. Tell me about that.
Oh, man. Yes, it's one of those things that when a lot of people start telling me the same thing, you should be doing this. Maybe you should think about this. I at least want to pay attention to that. And go exploring, and to see if that's something that makes sense for us to do. And my wife and I, we love to entertain in our house. We love dinner parties. We love having singer-songwriters at the house. One time a friend of mine just texted me and said, hey, you should do a whole pig roast. I had no clue how to do that.
Did you do it?
Yes, we did it.
How'd it go?
It was great, but like 250 people ended up coming to our house. I think I invited 80 people.
Oh my God.
And 250 people showed up, and there were people walking around. And
that you didn't know.
I'm like, I don't know this person, but they're in my home. And so that was a weird thing, but we just, we love creating fun experiences like that. And so it seemed pretty natural to me. They're like, okay, I love these makers. I love cocktails. I love bourbon. I love live music. Let's try to combine all these things and create some type of fun event that focuses on the South and Southern culture. And so
you told me you planned the kind of event you would want to go to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Isn't that like the dream of an event planner, is like throwing your ideal event? I think it should be.
Yeah, I mean, like Topher seems like he has a lot of fun at that event. He talks about it, and you can hear it in his voice. And when I go to our whiskey event, or when I go to our Main South Market event, I have a ton of fun. I love walking around and shopping with the different people. I love grabbing a great cocktail or listening to some great music. So we did absolutely want to create an event that we would have fun going to. So tell us how the event went. Tell us about it. Went well. I mean, we had no idea what to expect. I still remember it. We pre-sold 516 tickets, but we made the tickets available on the day of. And we had like 1,800 people show up on the day of the event. And they just kept driving in and driving in and driving. You were there.
I went to this. It was beautiful. It was beautifully put on, beautifully curated.
Yeah, my wife and I were just looking at each other like, where did all these people hear about this? It's crazy. But so we had a little over 2,200, 2,300 at that first event. And it's just grown every year from there. And then last year we decided to kind of branch out and do some fun, different events.
Yeah.
And that's what made us create this whiskey event that we have coming up next month.
So you spent 6 months planning it.
Yeah.
And you'd never done an event before, and you didn't make a huge profit on it.
We lost our shirt. Yeah, we lost a ton of money.
Yeah.
Because I think looking back, we did things that weren't necessary to create a great experience for the guest or the maker. And so we made a lot of notes kind of in our post-mortem meeting after that event to say, what are the things that we feel like we overspent on? I think our budget, Topher was talking about the importance of a budget. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like I feel like the number one thing, if you're going to create events, you have to stay dialed in on your budget. And because we had no idea what we were doing, we didn't have a budget.
Yeah.
Like we just said, we'll just spend whatever we feel like we need to spend in order to create this great experience. And looking back, there were a lot of things we spent money on that we won't ever spend money on again.
Yeah.
And so, we learned a lot that first event. It looked beautiful and people had fun.
Yeah.
But it did not work financially.
And then you turned around 3 months later and put another event on.
Yeah, we didn't expect to do that.
Yeah.
But we had the gentleman who is the general manager at the factory in Franklin.
Yeah.
Had reached out to us, and he had come to our event at Harlansdale. And he said, hey man, it looked awesome. I loved what you do. I love what you do. I would love to grab coffee and talk with you about some opportunities over here. So we did that. And he said, I have this date. It's 6 weeks or 8 weeks away from now.
Yeah.
It's the weekend before Thanksgiving, which our first event was middle of September.
Right. So
we're talking about 2 months to turn this around. We had no intentions of doing a second event that quickly.
Yeah.
But he made us a really great deal, and he made a really good argument for bringing the event indoors, which as much as I love the idea of that big 20,000 square foot tent in the middle of a field, it's beautiful, it looks awesome, but if it rains, it's a disaster for our makers, for us, for everyone involved.
Yeah.
And that big, beautiful tent in the middle of a field means you have to bring in electricity and to bring in bathrooms and running water and so many different things that we didn't have to bring into the factory.
Yeah.
So he made a really compelling argument for, we have 1,200 parking spaces, and we have clean bathrooms, and we have electricity, and we have a lot of different things that you don't need to go bring in from outside vendors.
That's compelling.
It was extremely compelling. And so we took a risk and we said, hey, let's do it. Let's create kind of a holiday themed event.
Yeah.
We felt like holiday shopping would start to pick up around that time, around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and all the money we lost in the first event, we made back in that second one. And so that's
love
when
that
we
story.
went, okay, maybe we're beginning to tweak the formula a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We just make those little changes every time. And it just continues to get a little bit better, a little bit finer. Yeah, every time.
And you spent 6 months planning the first event, and in less than 6
less
weeks
than 2
planning
months. Yeah,
the
6 to 8 weeks
one.
planning the second one. But we streamlined it. We removed a lot of those things that, looking back, I don't feel like enhanced the experience for either the maker or the guest. And those are our top 2 priorities. We want the makers to have a great experience.
Right.
We want the guests to have a great experience. We also want the vendors that we use to have a great experience.
Right.
But that's a little bit more behind the scenes. And so we removed a lot of that stuff that we didn't feel like enhanced the makers or the guest experience, and that helped us streamline, be a little bit quicker, and be more economically friendly as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You've had a kind of test and learn approach as you've grown your business and tried some new things. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, everything we do, we try it, and then if it works, that's great. We'll try to pour a little gasoline on that fire. If it doesn't work, we will do what we call a post-mortem meeting, where we'll say, what didn't work about this event, what did work, and we will try our best to eliminate the things that don't work and continue or grow the things that do work. So that's how we try to operate in everything we do.
You have a lot of ideas. How do you know?
Too many ideas.
How do you know when your ideas are good or not?
I don't, and that's one of my faults. Is I think all of my ideas are really good.
Yeah.
And I am an idea person. I have a ton of ideas, and for the longest time I thought, man, all my ideas are great. Like, I'm a smart guy. These are all great ideas.
Yeah.
And
So creative.
I run the business. It's my checkbook I get to write. So I'm just going to do all of these ideas. And we're fast, and we can do things really quickly. So I can come up with an idea in the morning, and we can push it out there in the afternoon or the next day.
Yeah.
We can be really, really quick. But what I've learned is that out of 10 of my ideas, 8 or 9 of them are not good.
Ugh.
But my mistake in doing them all
Yeah.
is that even if you put a little bit of time, effort, and money into all of them,
Right.
those 8 or 9 that aren't good
Yeah.
will hamstring the 1 or 2 that are good.
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn to get more outside input from
Yeah.
people that I trust.
Yeah.
And so I have people in my life now that I filter those ideas through, and they say, hey, that might be a good idea. So they patronize me a little bit. That might be a good idea, Chris. They pat me on the head.
Hang on.
Yes, but let's really think about this. Why is this a good idea?
Yeah.
Does it fit with the mission of the business? Does it fit with what you guys do as a brand, as an experience? And so that's been really helpful over the last year or two in deciphering what we should do and what we shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a idea person, it's hard to not run with every single one
Very
of those.
difficult.
And
Very
you've had some
difficult.
good ones.
I feel like we've had some stinkers too.
No.
Which I feel like everybody's going to have if you're out there trying to make things happen.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, last question. Tell me about some of. So the first time I asked you this question, I asked you about big wins, glimpses of success, and you said you never really feel like you're like, I've made it, like we're good.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have a few crystallized moments where you're like, this is cool. It's a cool moment.
It was a cool moment. Looking back, again, I'd been with Dave for 12 and a half years.
Yeah.
I love that man to death. And it was a big emotional deal for me to leave his place of employment, for me to leave working with that guy.
Yeah.
And so, but the morning that I was going to go in and resign my position, February 14th, 2014, I couldn't sleep. It was about 3 or 4 in the morning, and I woke up really early, just thinking about, my speech. What am I going to go in and say? It was a Friday. Dave typically rolls in a little late on a Friday. I knew I was going to sweat it out for a couple of hours in the office, and so I'm going through. What am I going to say? How am I going to approach him? I had some gifts for him. Everything planned out.
And what time? This is early in the morning.
This is 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
I woke up just thinking about it, nervous, and I grabbed my phone because we had launched subscriptions just a couple weeks before, and I looked, and there was a gentleman by the name of Lindsey Bierman who had signed up just a few minutes before that, really early in the morning.
I love this story.
And not a lot of people know that name, but I instantly knew that name because my mom always had Southern Living in the house, the magazine. I grew up reading that magazine, and I knew that Lindsey Bierman was the editor-in-chief at Southern Living, and so that was a little bit of a flag in my mind that I went, holy smokes.
The editor of Southern Living magazine signed up for your new thing that barely existed.
Barely existed in the world.
Yeah.
But he knows who we are. And so I got up, made some coffee, grabbed my laptop, sat in our living room, and I fired up a quick email and just said, hey, I know who you are, and I appreciate you signing up with his own money. He paid money to be a part of this thing we're doing. And I said, I would love to personally deliver your first shipment in Birmingham to the offices. And within 5 minutes, he responded and said, hey, that's awesome. I love what you're doing. We'll help any way we can. Would love to meet you. And so that was a big neon arrow in the highway of life, I guess, where I feel like I'm making the right decision. But to have that happen early in the morning on the day that I'm going to walk in and quit what I think is probably the greatest job I could ever have.
Yeah.
That was a fun kind of confirmation for me.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
I love that story. All right, tell everyone what your next event is coming up and where they can find you, all the channels.
Our next event is called Southern Whiskey Society. It is pretty simple. It's a high-end whiskey/chef event. We have 9 incredible chefs from around the South, Charleston and Nashville and Chattanooga and a lot of different places. James Beard level chefs creating delicious tasting dishes for all of our guests. And then we pair that with whiskey samples from 30 of our favorite distilleries from around the South. It's a lot of fun. It'll be August 25th at the factory in Franklin, Tennessee. If people want to check that out, it's southernwhiskeysociety.com. Pretty simple. All of our other events are on the website madesouth.com, or you can follow us on Instagram at madesouth.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for taking the time.
Yes, ma'am.
Really awesome stuff. And that's all for today. And I do have some exciting guests coming up, but I can't officially announce them yet. So go on our channel, follow, subscribe, share. We'll tweet it out and post it out on Facebook when we book our next guest. And we'll see you back here live at 5:30 in the Google Fiber Center in the Gulch next Monday. Bye. Burp. All right. That's it.